Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, we are back. Inside Real Estate, sports, entertainment, politics. Time for our sports segment. We got a special guest on the line, DallasCowboys.com editor, longtime writer, sports writer, Nick Eatman. Mr. Eatman, are you on the line with us?
I am. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing this morning?
I'm pretty good. Out here in California, a little bit earlier than you guys.
Yeah, just a little bit. Hey, well, thanks for coming on the show, and I know we're going to get into talking about your brand new book, which was just released this past week. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Texas, a year in the life of Lonestar football from high school to college to the Cowboys. I read the book cover to cover, and a lot of great information in this book. And so for folks who love sports and love sports reads, this is a great read. And it was very interesting, the architecture of the book, because every chapter was a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. And so, you were covering each one of those in the chapter. And I really enjoyed that architecture of the book.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think you'll laugh if you might have read it in the back, but you might laugh when you kind of hear how it came to the forefront. Basically, I was watching a TV show called Modern Family, which is a popular show. A lot of people have seen it, and basically just watching the format of this TV show, how they introduce three families and they kind of go back and forth with each other, and they're connected, but they're also different and similar at the same time. And I thought, you know what? That's how I want to write this book. I want to write a book about three football teams, and I want to go back and forth on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday type thing. Talk about football on all levels. Sometimes it's very different. Sometimes it's very similar. And I wanted to kind of chronicle all three of those, and hopefully it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, I think it did. So that was kind of the moment, that it hit you how to write that book, and it was just right. It came across, really, really well, and all three really are so interconnected. In particular, here in Texas, we all kind of want to get to the AT&T Stadium, and you talk about that in the book. Let's talk a little bit about the college side of it. It just happened to be that was the season. Baylor. You cover Baylor in here, you cover Plano, and of course the Cowboys. Covering, Baylor, I know you have a great relationship with the folks down there. They were just having to come off of sort of what was going on down there. How tough was it, for everybody down there to get out of it, and how are things going now?
Well, it was very tough on a lot of levels. Just me, writing the book, trying to finish the book at that time frame, and then all of a sudden, because during the year of 2015, not a lot of that stuff at Baylor was really going on. There was an investigation from the Pepper Hamilton, but it wasn't really. There wasn't a lot of events that were happening right then that you would think, oh, this is going to be bad. And then not until after the season did you really see the things start to unfold. And so it was really tough to finish a book and with trying to put a bow on this thing, but also this thing's just now opening up with so many different layers and aspects. And so it was tough from that standpoint. As for how tough it was for them, I mean, sure, here's Art Briles. Here's a coach that is well respected across the country as one of the best masterminds in college football.
Right.
And then to have a lot of this stuff go on, and nobody really knows the answers, and they still don't. That's what's so frustrating. I mean, even Art Briles himself hasn't been told why he was fired like he should have been. And so that it's just when I know that, knowing that he doesn't have a lot of answers, then I know I don't. I know a lot of people don't, and so it's just kind of left us all to wonder, what happened? Should it, and I still think the narrative is turning. I think before it's all said and done here, I think his name will be cleared. I really believe that, but maybe because I want to believe that, but it might take some time for that to happen.
Right. Absolutely, no doubt a great coach, but yeah, you're right. I mean, he wasn't told why he was fired. You talk about in the book the report that the legal firm prepared, or lack of report. They actually presented everything verbally, and so there was literally no actual report from the firm except for what they gave orally in the sessions, and so that was amazing, I thought.
Yeah, I mean that I agree, and you kind of wonder why that is. Are they? To me, I feel like it's because the interviews that they prepared were supposed to be confidential. The players and the coaches that met with them were told this is a confidential thing. So therefore, if they have a written report, they can't come back and tell the Board of Regents, well, this guy told me this or this guy told me that. So you do it verbally. That's your way of getting around certain things and saying, hey, it was a certain coach, wink, wink, and then I think people can kind of figure out who it is. So I think they kind of did some missteps along the way there, and that's why they didn't want to have a paper trail about it. So the whole thing's a mess. It still is, and Baylor's doing on the field. Baylor's doing well. They're figuring out how to continue to win games, but it's still a mess. They don't have a full-time coach yet, and I think next year you're really going to see a lot of turn in that whole situation. So they're not out of the woods by any means, but it was just just a capper to a really odd season when I thought Baylor was going to be the one to give me more stability. It turned out that they were the one that had so much turmoil.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about recruitment at the collegiate level, and not necessarily focusing so much necessarily on Baylor, but let's just talk across the board. Do colleges and recruiters, the scouts, need to do a better job of getting into the details of these players' lives at the lower levels and figuring out, are they mentally stable before they bring them into an atmosphere where they're going to have the type of temptations at the collegiate level that they need to be able to withstand those things mentally, because this is rampant. We know what happened at Vanderbilt with the football players over there and the things that they did. This is happening rampantly across America. So do scouts and recruiters and head coaches ultimately need to do a better job there?
I think that's a tough thing, because scouts and coaches, they dig so deep already that you kind of wonder. I don't know if they've left any rocks unturned. I mean, because recruiting is such a nasty business, and just how cutthroat it is, that the recruiters are finding out information about your uncle and where he works and all this stuff. I mean, they already kind of dig as deep as you can get, I think. I think what's hard to do is put yourself in the shoes. Here's an 18-year-old kid, and he's been here. He's been coddled in this area because he's the best high school kid there is. How's he going to react when we put him here and with 80 other teammates, and 75 of them are just as good as him, if not better? And how does he handle that situation? How's he going to handle college life? And now he's living on his own. He's get to make decisions. Your curfew goes from midnight to 2 days. I mean, you can do whatever you want. And so I think that it's really difficult and I don't really put all that on the coaches and scouts at that point, because you're asking these kids that's the time in their life when they're growing up to be young men. And I just think that you're going to have bad situations. Sometimes you have the temptation, and sometimes they make good choices. Most of the time they do make good choices, but we are finding there are some that don't. And now when you're talking about transfers, I think that's a little different story. And Baylor's had some of that. If you want to go to Baylor's, the transfers from one college to another, and why it didn't work out here, and why are we taking him on here? I think that is something that Baylor maybe could have done a little bit better job in. But for the most part, with these young kids, this is the time of life when they're growing to be young men, and sometimes they're going to make bad choices, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that, maybe they should start on the borderline kids. And really, this is at all levels, even at professional. If they're borderline, well, then maybe we need to think about letting them go. There's enough good quality athletes out there that if they're borderline mentally, let it go and move on. Let's get into the pro side of it. I thought there was some great stuff in the book, talking about Garrett, because a lot of times, the public persona of Garrett is, very quiet. How involved really is he? He's not calling any plays on the sideline. But you got into a lot of the mental aspect. And, this guy is so smart, so intelligent, and he does a lot of things behind the scenes. But you talked about, going up to San Fran, to have the team see the Super Bowl. You had talked about them going in a day early to New York to see One World Trade Center. And talk a little bit more about that for a second.
Yeah, he's very stoic on the sidelines. We know that. Very intense. But the Jason Garrett that you don't always see on camera is pretty. I mean, he's just a guy that's he's very emotional. I think he's an emotional person. He like I said about the World Trade Center, that was something that affected him personally, because he had been in New York when that happened. He was playing for the Giants, and so the World Trade Center and then the whole 9/11 aspect was very important to him. He wanted his team to see that. He wants his team to kind of be around greatness, and it doesn't always be about football players and stuff. When an actor comes in, somebody at the highest level, he wants them to go talk to the team. Denzel Washington, come talk to our team about being great at your craft, at your field. The Navy SEALs, the Cowboys have gone twice to go look at and visit them and see what it's like to be up close to them. So he tries to kind of instill these messages to his team. He's got all across the locker room. There's all kinds of messages that the players are reading. Sometimes it could be a little bit too much, but I think that for the most part, he's just trying to put it in these guys' minds of that it's be great at all times. Doesn't matter if you're a football player or not. So
Right.
Those are some of the things that you see out of him, and his messages to the team, his speeches are very good. They're epic almost.
Absolutely.
He's really, really good at that. But what all fans care about is, can we just win football games? And right now he's been average. He's been mediocre.
There's no doubt about
gotta
that.
Get turned around.
And, Nick, we're running out of time. We're running a little short on time. We're going to have you back, talk more about this book. By the way, folks, there's a lot of amazing information in this book. This is Nick Eatman, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Texas. Catch it wherever great books are sold. Highly recommend it. He covers Plano, Baylor, and the Cowboys. What an amazing way to write a book. Nick, thank you so much for being on the show. I really enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you again to discuss more.
Thank you so much for having me.